back. Time now for our weekend checkup. Australians with congenital heart disease have long been told to avoid exercise for fear it might cause too much strain.
But Sydney researchers have now discovered that cardio might actually be the key to treating the defect. For more, we're joined by President of the New South Wales AMA, Dr Michael Bonning. Good morning, Doctor.
Morning.
What exactly have these researchers found?
So this has been a study of 400 people looking at the benefits of mild to moderate exercise in people with what we'd either describe as single ventricle disease, so where they only have one part of the heart that pumps really hard, or actually only half a heart, for lack of a better term. And that congenital heart disease problem has meant that over a long period of time we worried about what would happen if we stressed their heart. This new research is showing us that maybe that's part of the future for keeping them, allowing them to lead longer, healthier lives.
So given that, Doctor, might it change treatment options?
Look, it might. One study is very important, and it's certainly changing some of the paradigm about how we think about these patients. There are more than 100,000 people with a congenital heart disease in Australia, and so that's the really important thing, trying to do good research in controlled clinical trials to update how we think about helping those other 100,000 people to live better lives.
OK. There's another issue now. New technology is being used by Melbourne researchers to diagnose hearing impairments in infants. How does that work?
Incredible use of what we call infrared spectroscopy, so the ability to look inside the brain and look at the patterns without any invasive problems. It doesn't hurt, it's not noisy, anything like that. And the great thing about that is it shows us how the brain develops and then how the brain responds with sound. So we know which infants or babies are actually in a position where their hearing might be different. And so that's a really interesting kind of study and learning point.
So given they're in their developmental phases, that's why early treatment is important?
So early treatment across someone's life course, but both through the sides of the occupational therapies, so speech therapy, but then also things like hearing aids or other extra aids for these children, so that they grow up and their learning isn't slowed by this, but also we're making sure that we're giving providing the right resources to the right children.
OK. Now, fizzy drinks aren't just unhealthy for children, they may also pose another risk. What can you tell us about this?
I have banged on here about the hazards of sugar-sweetened beverages, but what we've seen in this study through done in South Korea is that children who are drinking these fizzy drinks, sugar-sweetened beverages, are more likely to then start drinking alcohol earlier. So it seems to be something related to kind of reward in their brain and changes in the way in which they view other drinks in adult society.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And finally, a monkey with green eyes and fingertips has been created with stem cells. Here it is here, a big leap forward in regenerative medicine. Tell us about it. How does it work?
So this monkey had cells from another embryo, so stem cells put in its embryo. It was then allowed to mature and be born. It did only live for 10 days, and we've got to recognise that this is an early step on this pathway. The work was done in China, but what it is showing us is the ability of us to kind of look for ways to predict and prevent certain conditions and maybe treat certain conditions earlier, so that this kind of neurological or other complex disease that we can't really treat later might be dealt with early.
OK, Dr Michael Bonning, thank you.
Hey there, Today fans, Sarah and...
What's my name again?
Oh my God, Carl.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports and amazing Aussie stories.
And Carl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
that never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?
Always happens.